Hi, everyone. I'm Paul Kozalski, and thank you for joining me at the crawl. As you might know, Joe Lopez and I really like beer, and not just because it tastes great. We enjoy its social traditions, we enjoy its history, and we enjoy the variety as well. So this week, I am privileged to take you to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which is a city that takes beer just as seriously as we do.
Milwaukee's history is defined by its German immigrant roots. At one point, one-third of its citizens were of German ancestry, many of whom were tired of political instability in their own country and were looking for cheap farmland. The imprint of German heritage can be seen on Old World Street to this very day. So what happens when you get a bunch of jaded Germans with lots of wheat and no major problems? You get beer, and you get beer companies. Schlitz, Pabst Blue Ribbon, and Miller all started in Milwaukee, taking the traditions of German lager making and using industrial age American entrepreneurship to mass produce their wares. These breweries may not be the gold standard today, but Milwaukee's brewers haven't been stuck in the past either. New breweries such as Lakefront and Hinterlands are keeping Milwaukee's beer scene relevant. I've talked up Milwaukee's German roots up to this point, but it is also a quintessential Midwest American city, and there is nothing more Midwest American than baseball. Fortunately, baseball and beer go together like hot dogs and mustard, so a big part of Milwaukee nightlife is cheering for the Brewers while enjoying a craft beer at Miller Stadium. Okay, so now it's American Family Field, named after an insurance company, but just remember what it was called first. Which brings us to our week's featured bar, Broken Bat. It's relatively new, celebrating its 5-year anniversary just a couple of months ago. I'm impressed with the way this bar fuses Milwaukee's two loves together in a way that doesn't feel gimmicky. Take the names of the beer. Each name has some baseball theme in them, but impressively, they also tell you something about the beer itself. Look at the top left corner, Ofer, which refers to a batter slump. For example, if you don't get on base in 5 tries, you're 0 for 5. Another name for this is a cold streak, and Ofer, the beer, is a cold IPA, which is this year's latest beer trend. The first beer I got was Bermuda Triangle, a reference to a ball that falls in the center of 3 fielders. In this case, this beer had to balance the usual problems of porter between maltiness and bitterness, and had the additional problem of trying to balance between its sweetness, coming from the maple. I think that they executed this balance. It's very easy to Uber around Milwaukee, so the next beer I got was Down the Line, a double IPA with a hefty serving of alcohol. In baseball, balls that get hit down the line usually result in doubles, even if they're not physically powerful hits. And that's the sense you get after tasting this beer. There are also flights available. Kellie stuck with 4 of the Concession Stand series, which is a series of Weiss beers which are mixed with fruit flavors such as lemon ice and blue raspberry. I thought it was pretty creative and stuck with the theme.
I really like their beer, and I happen to like baseball. But even if I didn't, I really enjoy the way that they branded their beer. You know, it's really tough to describe a taste, and it's almost impossible to relay that in words. But by putting it in a baseball analogy, they were able to, in 3 words or less, create an intent of the beer. And that, to me, makes the beer more memorable. It really helps that these brewers knew what they were doing.
After our beers, our friend and Broken Bat employee Mike Shields let us tour the back area. It's nice to know the baseball theme lives on, even behind the scenes. The setup is pretty typical for a microbrew, but it's still always satisfying to see a large tank during the fermentation phase. That's a lot of carbon dioxide, which means a lot of alcohol. This next area separates Broken Bat from every other bar that I've been to, and maintains its theme. This bar has an area for wiffle ball in the back, with league events on weeknights. Milwaukee breweries have a lot of competition, so it's helpful to have an attraction. Fortunately, baseball is a prime Milwaukee attraction.
So that's Broken Bat. It's a little bit far away from downtown Milwaukee, but I happen to think it's worth the trip. One negative of this place is that they didn't really have too many food options, and I think that they had some food trucks available, but they weren't available when we were there. An obvious choice for a permanent food fare would be concession stand food, such as hot dogs and burgers. But the beer that they have is sophisticated enough to be paired with a little bit more substantial food. Whatever Broken Bat decides, I am excited to see this place grow, and I'm looking forward to tasting their beers in the future.
Special thanks to my friend Mike Shields for giving me some special insight and access to the field and back room. As we all know, beer has carbs and carbs are fuel. Mike is using that fuel for a great cause, running the Chicago Marathon and fundraising for Hope for the Day, a nonprofit that prevents suicide by addressing mental illness in communities across the nation. If you have the ability, please support my friend and fellow beer enthusiast as he turns beer calories into hope for those who need it most.